Hello everyone. Today we will review the movie The Spy Who Dumped Me. Um, so I did go see this in theaters 2 years ago when it came out, and I actually enjoyed the film a lot more than I thought I would, because I thought this was going to be kind of more. I mean, it did have comedy elements, but I thought it was going to be geared way more towards the comedy aspect of things than it actually was, and it ended up being a lot more of a serious action movie, which was definitely different for Mila Kunis and why can't I think of the and Kate McKinnon, I guess, because they both came into the scene as comedians, as far as I know. At least Mila Kunis did, because I remember her from that '70s show, and obviously she's done other comedic movies over the years. I'm not going to name all of them, but yeah, she's probably one of my favorite actresses, and the two of them together just did a fantastic job in this movie. Um, they definitely had chemistry, and they fed off of each other's comedic energies, and they were actually good as action stars, which was surprising when you're stepping into a different role. Sorry, my glasses are. Anyway, when you're stepping into a different role, it's kind of. I guess maybe people who are fans of you might kind of go, I don't know how good they're going to do, but they did a phenomenal job in this movie. So I had to come back to it and watch it again. My eyes are watering for some reason. I had to come back and watch it again just because I remember how good this movie was. So basically, this starts off with why can't I think of their actual names in movies? I've said their real names now, and now I've lost. So this movie starts off with Drew. He's obviously some sort of secret agent or something, and he's in. I can't remember what country it was because they switched places so many times in this movie. But he's obviously being followed, or he's tracking somebody and now they're tracking him. So there's this huge fight scene where he has to get away at the beginning of the movie. And so he's obviously some sort of spy or criminal. We're not really sure which. And anyway, he does end up getting away. And then Audrey is eventually found by this agent from MI6 named Sebastian. That's right. And so they take her in and question her, tell her that Drew is being followed by a lot of dangerous people, and they need to know where he is. They're after this. No, they don't tell her what they're after. Anyway, so she goes back to her friend in the apartment and tells her all of this. And Kate's name in this movie was Morgan, right? I thought it was Beth for some reason. Anyhow, so she goes back to Morgan and tells her that these two CIA agents brought her in, even though we know that Sebastian works for MI6 later on in the movie. And Drew gives her this trophy that he had kept, which we later find out has this flash drive in it, which is what everybody's after. Once Audrey and Morgan go to Vienna, because that's where Drew told them to go after it looks like he's been killed by this assassin guy that I guess basically infiltrated them in a way, because Morgan ends up sleeping with him, and then he is actually there to kill Drew. So that's what it looks like happens. So then they go over to Vienna, and that's when all hell breaks loose, because eventually Sebastian finds him again, and he says that he's the one that they're supposed to meet, because they were supposed to meet somebody in Vienna. And then, so they kind of go on this wild goose chase, I guess, because now they know that everybody wants whatever is inside this trophy, which they eventually find out is this flash drive. So then, Morgan's dad and mom, Morgan's dad is a lawyer, so he says that he can get them out of whatever seriousness they've been in overseas. So they go over to Morgan's dad's friend's house, but by the time they get there, Morgan's dad's friend has actually been killed, and it's two secret agents that are in there. And then they finally run into this assassin girl, whose name I can't even pronounce, so I'm not even going to try. But she becomes kind of a thorn in their side, and in one scene, she kind of beats them up a little bit or tortures them. or begins to torture them at least, until Sebastian comes in and saves the day again. And then we find out that the other agent that he's working with is actually the bad guy. He's working with the other team, who I can't think of their names right now. It's a terrorist organization, anyway, that they're working with. So, anyway, this big guy that they're staying with in the hostel ends up killing him because he says, "Oh, he was here to rob us, right?" And they just say yes because they want to get out of there and continue on with their mission. So eventually, it ends up they're in this basically like Cirque du Soleil type thing, and Morgan has to kill the assassin, and everybody thinks it's part of the act, which was kind of funny. And then Audrey runs into Drew again, who I guess it ends up he isn't dead. So now we know that he's working with this terrorist organization. And so he tries to tell Audrey to trust him, even though he's clearly looking for the flash drive. And she then turns on him because she obviously trusts Sebastian by this point, which was the right choice for her to make, because clearly Sebastian wouldn't have gone to all that trouble to protect them if he was working for the other side. Which luckily he wasn't, because, yeah. Otherwise this movie would have taken a really weird turn at the end. So anyhow, it goes to, I think, a year later. It's Audrey's birthday again, and now they have officially been recruited as spies, because Gillian Anderson's character was the leader of MI6, or at least that faction of MI6, and Morgan like praises her throughout the movie and says that she wants to come work for her. So eventually I guess they get to, which was kind of cool, because they went from being untrained and just kind of really the whole movie was just kind of luck for them, I guess, as to how it worked out, because the one scene where everybody's after the flash drive in the restaurant, Audrey does grab a gun and shoot a guy, and she must have had some Mila Kunis must have had some background training, because the way she's holding the gun is actually proper as far as I know. A lot of people, you can tell when they don't have any like sort of background training, so I'm assuming she had some sort of background training for this movie, just so that it didn't look completely sloppy, because yeah, you wouldn't really want that in an action movie, right? Everything has to be kind of perfect to a T in a certain way. I know there's obviously the comedy aspect too, especially the one scene where they get into the cab and they're being chased by three guys on motorcycles, and the cab driver says that he's been doing drugs before the cab ride, and they tell him that he has to get away from these guys on the motorcycles. And oh my god, that was probably one of the better action scenes in the movie. I think that was right after I think that might have been right after the cafe scene where she ends up meeting with Sebastian, and he's saying he's the other person they're supposed to meet up with. And Morgan's trying to tell her, no, that's not who it is. But anyhow, yeah, I think the car chase scene might have been one of the better scenes, and obviously the scene at the end where Morgan has to do the trapeze act with the assassin girl who's trying to kill her, and then she ends up throwing her off of the, I don't know, the swings, I guess, and into like this giant anchor. That was probably the most brutal scene of the movie right there. But yeah, I would give this movie a definite 10 out of 10. Yeah, comedy and action-wise, this movie was fantastic. I don't really know any of the other actors in this movie too well, other than Gillian Anderson, obviously, who was in the X-Files, if you've ever seen the X-Files. But other than that, obviously, Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon were the forefront of this movie, and they did a fantastic job as action movie stars. I guess from their normal comedy. Although there was the comedy aspect of this, because clearly in the beginning they're like, oh my god, I killed somebody, and holy shit, Drew's dead. Like, clearly they don't know what they're doing in the beginning when they're trying to deal with all of this, because that would be a lot for any normal person, right? You just watch somebody die, or at least that's what you thought, and then you have to go and kill people. It would get pretty crazy. You'd have to kind of change your whole mindset on the thing if you're going to go into that line of work, because you can't be afraid to do anything. whether you think it's right or wrong, sort of thing. But yeah, so this movie would be a 10 out of 10 for me. I don't really think there was anything too flawed in this movie. Maybe just the fact that they seemed, I guess action movies kind of do it in a way where the untrained people seem a little bit more trained than they actually should be. But I mean, hey, it's an action movie. So, I mean, it worked out in the end where they actually did get proper training to come into the service. So that was perfect because, yeah, it just worked out in the end anyway. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this film. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below what your thoughts on this film, what your thoughts were on this film, because I'm assuming most of you have probably seen it by now. If not, please go watch it before you watch this review, or if you'd like to, again, I should probably say this at the beginning, but if you'd like to watch this review before you go see the movie, that is also okay too. But please don't let this review deter you. This is just my opinion, although this review shouldn't deter you, because I guess I praise this movie pretty much. As far as that goes, I know some movies I don't like, but yeah. Don't let my opinion sway your opinion, because I know everybody's going to have a different opinion of this movie anyhow. But yeah, and that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.